Okay, good morning, Chaim. All right, so continuing Eisavov. So he's saying that the whole Kavon of Ishtalshalos, and he went through it, Pnimius HaKelim, to Chetzenius HaKelim of Atzilus, and then to Bia, then to the Levushim of Asir, it's all in order for the Aliyah. Mayofa Pamayich Bana Olim is the lowest Levush, and the Gemara explains it's referring to Aliyah Laregel, Keshem Shibal Yirois, Kach Bal Yirois, in the same way that he's seen totally. So to the Aliyah is an absolute Aliyah, but he sees the Likus totally, as it were. And that happens dafka through the Avodah of Bana Olim, of the Avodah with the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's all, the Yerid is all for this Aliyah. So let's continue. Let's go back a bit. B'shvil zeh yakol in ha'yirida, it's 2/3 down, middle of the page. If you have this, you may not have the same text as I do. If you have a copy of the Maamar, you do. So b'shvil zeh yakol in ha'yirida, eichem ha'yirida, me'bechinas pnimis ha'kelim, bechinas chitzonis ha'kelim. The first Yerid he speaks here is from pnimis ha'kelim to chitzonis ha'kelim. Again, pnimis ha'kelim means with a koyach. Hagvul is the shirish, that's the pnimis hakelim. That's the word of the Baal Shem Tov again is touched by the Tzemach Tzedek and Derech Mitzvisecha. That Elov v'leilim midoisov, meaning in the Zayin Shem is a pnimis hakelim. Why? Because Koyach Hagvul is mushish deeper. Even in the touch of the Pardes, that said it was the Oiris in the kelim. And then the Alter Rebbe's word, obviously, it's Atzmus and Mohos that can allow for both and manifests in both. The P'china Zayin Hashem is V'hainu. What is Pnimis HaKelim? That we explained the Shem Havaya compared to the other Zayin Shemis. Gam Shekol Hashem is saying B'atzilus, but there Chitzenius. Ari Zayin Shem is saying P'chinas Chitzenius HaKelim. Why are these Zayin Shemes? Why does the Eibishter need 7 names? How many names does one God need? The answer is because he wants it Bia, and there should be all kinds of avodas required, including the avodah of Shem Tzvokes, as we learned. So it's all the Shemes of Atzilus are all Bishvil Bia. Mitzad Atzilus itself, it's Shem Yud Kivovke. The Pnimis HaKelim is enough, meaning in Atzilus, the Koyach HaGvul is manifested as the Shleimus of Elikus, not as actual Gvul and as Zulas. But the Zayin Shemis, which begin the process already in Atzilus, because they're already Chitzonis HaKelim, and he touched earlier, definition of Chitzonis means other, so already other is present in this sense, even in Atzilus, because the whole kavan of Atzilus is there should be Bia. That's why Torah Bishop Iksav, which is Elam Atzilus, with the Oisias HaChakika, Etzem Oisias, therefore Shem Tzvokes is a Shaykh, because that's already Mulchama, that's already Bia. The Rakhana Gilso is only Chana, much later. Commissioners barely, as we explained in the previous Maamar. Even though at the end of the day it's one of the Zayin Shemes. The Kamoka, we mean here it's in Chitzonius Gufa, it's Mamash Levar Gufa, outside the body of the Spheres, which is Chesed Gvura Tiferes. It's Mamash for the idea that Mikamokim Li Sheikra Sheshayach Lebiyah, since the holding in of what? Of Shem Tzvokes. In other words, Netzach and Hoyd. It's all because there is going to be a Bia. There is a Bia. Teresh B'Ksav again, which is Yosef Achkika, the Lamatzilus, there's no reference. Rakanavim Giloisa. No, that's okay. Now we're up to this point with the Zeh Gam Kimash Hashem Kel Adnai B'Gematria Tzav. So Kel Adnai is B'Gematria Tzav. Adnai, of course, is Malchus. So it adds up to 96. Now, very nice. He's asking Shaila. Vein Tzav, if we're commanded, it means Elavid Zora. As I mentioned yesterday, right? That's the Shem Bnei Noach. So where was he commanded? Not to serve Elavid Zora, it's Aveya. In Pashtus, if the Eibush has to command, and it implies something very not negotiable, it's Avodah Zarah. It's a very strong lashon tzav. So it comes to negate Avodah Zarah, which is not negotiable on any level. So the shaila is the gematria. How is it possible that one of the Shem Kel Adnai, which is basically Malchus, so how could that have a numerical value of a word tzav that's associated with Avodah Zarah? Child is clear? Where's the connection to Avodah Zarah? Tell me one of the Eibishter's names. That's where Rabbi even though Takits and Atzilus, Natzach v'Hoid, Shem Tzvokos, Kamokin nonetheless Liyoy Shegam B'Atzilus Gufa. Ha'izem Asher Shaykh Lasiyah. The whole Atzilus was emerged, not because of the Maila of Atzilus, but because there should be ultimately an Asiyah. So we need an Eli in order to have a Tachten. First Maimon Bas Elegani. Lachen hine buri bishtalshus var dis lapshus belevushe Asiyah. So therefore, through many hishtalshus and coming all the way down in Asiyah, which is already factored into Netzach v'Hoid of Atzilus. That's why it's they wish to manifest this in order to this, because it's going to be a battle with Avodah Zarah. So already there be gematria itself. It's a remes. It's already be gematria 96. Vein tzaval Avodah Zarah, as if to know Atzilus als wissen sein. Why is there Atzilus? And what's the whole mile of Atzilus? There's going to be a Yidin, there's going to be a Biyah, and we're going to be Mamshech, Yichud Ilo, and Yichud Tata. So what does it mean, first of all, Bedakos? Bedakos, there's a yin of Avodah Zarah, Yitnu Shaychas Avodah Zarah. What does that mean? And Aderech V'Shomer Hazal, the Gemara says, in Avodah Zarah, Yisol Shebechutz La'aretz, Yidnu outside, that Yisol Eidim Avodah Zarah B'Tahara. They serve Avodah Zarah B'Tahara in purity. Why? Because they eat at the meal of non-Jews, and then unbeknownst to them, this meal is going to be leftover of a meal where they were offering thanks to their Avodah Zarah. Even if it's not a leftover, he has some kind of kavanah, the non-Jew, even though it's not the nature of the meal itself. All these dinim, you can't eat it at his weddings and so forth, where at a wedding, at a simcha, he's clearly thanking his idols. He's thanking his deities. So for sure that's awesome. But even in the meals that follow, other meals, which there's no overt Avodah Zarah, but there is a subtle Avodah Zarah, they're not aware of it, and if it's b'tahara. So how can we say about all that hidden in Chutz La'aretz, Eiv Avodah Zarah b'tahara, v'alei Rabbi Solim b'Chutz La'aretz. Most Yidden live in Chutz La'aretz, so most Yidden Eiv Avodah Zarah b'tahara. So what's the deeper meaning here? The Eretz, because he says Shebechutz La'aretz. Yes, so what does the Eretz mean? The Medrash says, why is it called Eretz? If you should because it desired, it has natural bittul, last is it's incarnate to do the will of its master. That's Eretz Yisrael. So in Bechutz La'aretz, so they're Chutz La'aretz, outside the Rotzen. Because of the whole physical nature of Chutz La'aretz. That the Dvarim Gashmi have the Ashpa, not directly from Balikos, the Pnimis of Balikos, but they come through the Ayin Sodim, through tremendous Simsum. So therefore, there's Avodah Zarah B'Dakos. Actually, it's Betchila, at the outset at least, Dakos and Avodah Zarah. Like he explains in how Avodah Zarah began. It didn't become with serving the sun and the moon. It began with the taina that when the king sends a messenger, you have to acknowledge the messenger. So it's all very subtle. And that's what he could be shaykhs to. Namely, he gives chshivas to darkei hateva. That's how it begins. And then kipshuto. So the Gemara is Pasha defending it. The Gemara says, Yitnu, it means bedakas. That he gets a little bit, to whatever degree, impressed with and caught up with darkei hateva per se. So what's this whole point? So who needs this? So l'achri kol zeh. So this whole yerida that the Eibush is responsible for. This whole tzimtzum, the whole yerida from Atzilus to Biyah, and then chutz la'aretz, and Shem Tzvokos, Melchama, Rishoyim, all the things we learned, all the things we're dealing with. And he called yerida aluzui b'shvil aliyah. So he has to know that he's thrust down. Here, it's all because of the aliyah for the neshama. As we said before, that my yofa pa'amayich ban olim dafka to the avoid with the olim with the eira behema, amshichim b'chin social ma'ila. We draw down a level of a likus which is higher. Gam b'chin social b'pnimis hakel. In other words, atzmis the geir mamish, not just the sherish hakel hakvu. While derech mashtis berliach, we said at the beginning of the maimer, being in banuma, that ban is what is malchus ma is zo. Atzilus, shadi bidu the shemba nasali gam b'shemba. Through the bidu of Biyah, never shebahamis and so on. So this causes an aliyah even in Atzilus gufa, even in ma. As he said, the dafka lamata, Torah lamata, in all the toil of Torah and the machlekas, etc. But then the final psak din. So this pales an aliyah and it's chuni ban in it's chuni even in Torah shelamayim. He didn't bring that, but that was the thing in the Teresh B'Ksav and Teresh B'Alpeh. So the Maimah doesn't address this, but it comes out that Dafka, the Oisias, which are not, the Oisias which don't come with the Gilu Eila Chatchila. The Oisias which are Nifrodi Mina Etzem, it's Dafka in those Oisias that the Etzem is Nimshach. This is explained elsewhere. They're not in other places. Till now, in Pashtas, there, it's the whole moshel, they believe, the melech, the Rav, has to give over the seichel to a Talmud that's very far removed. So he has to choose which oisius, what's the best language that he's going to understand. It's mamash chitzonius. It could be other words which convey the same thing. Doesn't change the teichen. Teresh B'Alpeh doesn't change the teichen. I still have to look at that order. Teisus Rosh and the Ram say the same svar in different oisius. And Afal Pekin is Dafkin, the svar of the Ram, and the Teisus Rosh, that the final halacha is, and that pales the Yadid in Torah L'mayla, which is Eisius HaChkika. What's the explanation? Yeah, but how is it possible that Eisius that are chosen b'chitzonius should be deeper than Eisius HaChkika? Eisius should be Ksav, should be deeper. It's true, when we can get to the Rotz and Elyon is by developing it. But what shaykhs we have to the Rotz and Elyon, and how could we develop it and reveal it in compromised oisius? Okay, that's it. Yeah, it's all true. Just to understand a little bit, these oisius that we're using again, these kelim anifrodim. So the answer is that other than Moshe and Etzem even deeper. Even deeper. The casual that is. More casual. Doesn't explain it here, so I won't come into it, but that's the irony. Half a P that L'chora is opposite. Dafka the Oisius that comes spontaneously with the Seichel. There, and he says that they're Atzmistic Oisius. Whereas later, all the way down the line, when you're choosing words, writing it, talking it, it's a zulas. Of course, there's no zulas. Everything is a likus. So it's an endless paradox. Dafka, what appears to be the zulas, dolikt, the emissary. So it comes out that in these negotiable letters, that's where the kavanah pnimius mamash lies. In the psak din lepeil, the rotzen elyon is dafke there, in the oasis of Shulchan Aruch, not in Teresh B'Ksav. That's the pamayich. The whole thing you're saying, the tachtonim, it's the whole. But what still requires hasbara is a little bit, which isn't addressed how fully is. So where did the oasis come from? We're saying from the etzer, but what's the process? We understand the oasis, the atmistic oasis. They're integral to the Gilui Oir. They've got to be said this way. You can't probably compromise the Oir. They well up from the Rotz and the Keich HaMaskel. They're integral to the whole Gilui. Oasis, which are Nibdul Min HaEtzem. There's a whole dictionary and you're choosing words. They are rooted in Etzem and Nefesh even deeper. I'll just say this. Why does the Teishus Rosh have these oasis and the Ran have these oasis? Same sort of different oasis. Sof Kosov the embassy is because these oasis are him. Him, not just his seich. The oasis that come with oasis, achikiko come with the seichel, they're oasis that have to be said with this concept. But the oasis that he chooses to teach go deeper in the concept, push it him. This is his language, his words. Could be other words, but that's it. Al derech, like we always say, that in a home. So what expresses the etzem of the people living there? The keres habayis. She is the home. He should defer all decisions to decoration to her. That's not really deferring. They want the shama. So if it wasn't his taste, you'll find out it's his taste. Just go a little bit deeper, and you'll realize you like it. If you like it, I like it. It's not a Mesiras Nefesh. I mean, forcing himself, it's not good. You learn. I didn't know what taste was till now. Now I know. What's class, what's taste. So the things that she will buy, they're not functional. There's a 50 arrays of faucets, this one. What's that piece? That talks to me. What does it talk to? It's not even seichel. It's much of the etzem. If we add the etzem, this color, this shape, this position talks to me. So paradoxically, the most external thing, which can't be justified by any conscious value, why dafke this? If you go into shop and you say I don't care, get anything, that's the decision of the storekeeper. Never, I don't care. That's him. He's not invested in these things, more or less. Why would ever? Dafke this. Why? It's not even midas. It's not a midah thing. It's not a seichel thing. It's an atzim zdika thing. So adarab. Those oisias, which are not justified by seichel, not justified by, that's just the way I want to say it. That's the atzim zdika oisias. So the Tosfos Rosh and the Ran use different oisias. Ador like the etzem, even though it could be other ones. But right, but they weren't caught up in how did they express the svara? Different ways. Why? He's teaching, and this is just the way. This is the easy way to teach it. This is the way I express it. It's
like the faces are less negay, and what's really negay when they're expressing themselves in the svara. That the mashal seems to not.
Okay, it's not the same with the decoration. It has to be this decoration. It falls down a little bit, but where it does not fall down is he could not have said it any other way. That's him. That's the Tosfos Rosh speaks. That's his sprach. That's how the Ran speaks. So to take the motion further, once he wrote his sefer, very touching this. It's part of Teresh B'Alpeh. It doesn't have the same sanctity in Oisius as Teresh B'Ksav, but it's respected and treasured. And no one have the audacity to go into Tosfos Rosh Ran and say, change the Oisius. He could have said it differently. As the ones he chose. And the embassy is not chazak. One by the Rishonim, we're medayik in the Rambam. Gewaldige things the Rambam himself wasn't even aware of. Consciously. Didn't choose a mitzvah the seichel. Just, that's how he wrote. Because it comes from the etzem nefesh, so it's not we medayik, tilim avalachas, and the dik in the Rambam, which the Rambam could not have been conscious of, begashmius. We've never written as much as he wrote.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
It's a fact, because he would never just. First of all, the Rabbi gesagt, I mean, none of the Rebbe's before, but he could never have written what he wrote. He didn't have time for it. If he had in mind all the pilpulim and the diyukim on the entire library written on the Rambam, begashmis, he could not have written the whole Mishnah Torah and the other svarim that he wrote.
Why are you minimizing by saying that? You're minimizing it.
On the contrary, he writes Beruach HaKodesh. It comes from the etzem nefesh, and it's meduyik. Therefore, betachlis comes from etzem nefesh. Doesn't have to have a whole filter in seichel, a whole cheshbon. Why these isis? And the spontaneity of it is the mailish bedava. Like he says in Ayim Yom, that till the shachan taz, the Beruach HaKodesh. That's what it means. That even the isis that they use, they're arbitrary. But it's the Ruach HaKodesh. It comes from a deep place in the neshama and the nefesh. What's Ruach HaKodesh? A deep place in the neshama, and it's meduyik, the fiyerech, and therefore we can be medayik, even though consciously they were not aware of it. Consciously means in seichel. It comes from a deep isis. It comes from a deeper place than seichel. Al tepus medayik also al pi seichel. But in the dik of Tanya is even more than that. It's atzmis dik inyan. Alter himself said he learns Tanya's mechadash chedushim. You wrote it. He finds new inyanim in Tanya. In Tanya. Why? Because dafka these oishes, this diuk is megala deeper and deeper. Ratzon chachma Hashem, even more than he was consciously aware.
I always say that in consciousness. How do we arrive at this equation? This being without it's really.
It's what's transparent and what's not transparent. Direct or not direct. When the ACS is chosen because of a chesh napi seichel, that's his direct marker. But just the spontaneous, what words to use, you can't trace that to seichel and midas. That's a transparent, direct expression of the etzem of the person. That's the language he uses. Yeah, but it's not processed. It's not processed. It doesn't come as a result of a process, a filter, a process of seichel. It's a natural, quick, that's his language. That's how he speaks.
Major process that we get to this.
Get to what? You say this. What's the this?
Saying that the more plastic, the more saying this, the more it's really
Exactly what we're saying. So dafka the most external, extraneous detail that wouldn't change the general content. Where does that come from? That's a direct investigatum. The more external and extraneous, the more direct. It's because that's Eibishter, finished. So it's dafka in the diyukim of the mitzvah and the pratim, which are not negated to the klolas ha'inyan. Adanab. There's the atzmis dikaratz.
That's outside of Seder Shtashos, or because of Seder Shtashos. I mean, it's because of, the time when it's Abba,
right.
So the Seder Shtashos is a Seder Masud.
Right. So therefore, as you go down, the details become less relevant.
Right.
And are disposable.
Right. Therefore, how do you come to the conclusion that at the end, the bottom, we have Ein Tachnan and Lakumena?
Right.
That the choice that somebody would have, either she's picking this faucet, or the Tazan around the run, and the places are choosing these letters.
Yeah.
We would say, Mitzad Seder Shtashos.
It's random. No.
Not Mitzad Seder Shtashos. Mitzad Seder Shtashos makes sense that they came to this Svara and they're expressing it in these languages.
No, the svara would be not the language, because it could be done many other languages. Random, it's arbitrary. No explanation.
So that's where it shows up. That's where the Atma shows up. It doesn't.
Where there's no hasbara. Where there's no hasbara. Right? There's no debate because you're not going to justify that by any logic. It's hardwired in the nefesh to like this kind of music, this kind of color, this taste. There is a hasbara, but it's an atzmisdik hasbara, not in the process of the intellect and the classic emotions. Everything is relative. The further down we go, you start to see a little bit of hasbara. Emotions can have to do with something. It's hard to see in emotions why this shape force it. Music, other things, yes, it shows deep in the nefesh. It's all relative. But the principle is the more extraneous something is, which we would just say it's arbitrary and random and could be another way. Attributed to all kinds of external things that could not have happened. They are really rooted in a more non-negotiable atzmisdik source.
What's the nimshal? The nimshal is mitzvahs that why did it this way and not that way? Why did it not be through this loop and not through that loop?
In mitzvahs, yeah, these paratim, the hidur, that don't change the general, still yoitze, and the general message of the mitzvah is conveyed.
Even before this, why does it need to be a black box? Why does it care if it's a black box or a gray box?
No, because that was already Teresh Baal Peh, the Ibishter said black box. It's already articulated very early. Ein achanami. Why a lot of the pratim, even as outlined in Teresh Baal Peh, just the pure dots and the aliens. It's all relative. But in this gufa, this prat and that prat, then there are hasbaras for all of those things. Square represents man's creativity. Round is the shape of nature. And black is considered beautiful and unchanging. There's all kinds of hasbaras. So tefillin is not considered a chayk.
Right. Would that also be the reason that might be deviating a little bit? That we see that minhag is higher than halacha.
Yeah. A minig is higher. Yeah, exactly the point. Exactly. There's the raisa, there's the rabbanon, and there's a minig. And where does the minig come from? The minig comes from because Yidnu Moshe and Atzmos, they just know what God wants. Not he articulated, not he said it. Not in Teresh B'Ksav is aderech chachma, Teresh B'Ksav is aderech bina. And a minig, the rotz of the alien. So b'chitzonius, a minig is negotiable. Do it, don't do it. Like, it doesn't change anything. You still from the Yidden, still get shy oilimus. But the pnimis ein yanim, the minig touches the etzah, which is why the Rebbe explains. Interesting, we see that when a Yid, our generation particularly, coming back to Yiddishkeit, it's the minhagim. First thing, two big classic examples, the Yarmulke and Simchas Torah. What draws Yidden? Simchas Torah. In Russia, that was the big day of Jewish revival. Simchas Torah is a minig, it's not even a Shulchan Aruch, but that draws that Siman Neshama. Yarmulke. It's not even halach and Shulchan Aruch. Well, now contemporary Shulchan Aruch it would be, but it's not in Gemara. Okay, yeah, we go further a bit. Let's finish the ice. Oh, okay, we finished the ice. We'll go further. Isaiah. So going back to the whole in the machzah shekel. So one of the shilas was, why? What do you say? Zeh Yitnu. What does it add? It doesn't add anything. Just say v'nos no ish keifa nafsha. As I said already. Previously, a person should give the redemption of his nefesh. How much? Machzah shekel. They don't have to introduce it by Zeh Yitnu. Teretz. Tchilas havoidi. Zeh, we said, Zeh means revealed. What's revealed and conscious by us? Nefesh habahamis. Tchilas havoidi bebireh sakech nefesh habahamis. So first we have to be muwat mevar that sakechas nefesh habahamis. L'chor is also answering why machzah shekel. One of the shalos was, he didn't even tell us what a shekel is. Tell us later, it's Esim Geira. The Nakuda is, you should know that there's two things in Nefesh Habahamis and Nefesh Elikis. A half. And by Yitnu, this machzis, you pearl an aliyah and the other machzis. These are nasaliyah, gam b'nefesh alikis, and this causes an aliyah even also in the nefesh alikis through the bira nefesh bahamis. Shezem Hashem Messiah truma lavaya, and that's a conclusion. Truma means elevated offering. Lavaya kiddush tchila. Yavodah b'chol levavcha. First is b'chol levavcha. Shnei yitzerecha. Engaging both nefesh bahamis, nefesh alikis. These are magim nechitz b'chol ma'itcha. And then we reach b'chol ma'itcha l'mayli medida v'akbala la'aliyah. In the context here, that happens in the nefesh alikis. The nefesh alikis havedas Hashem becomes l'mayli medida v'akbala. It only learned that and achieved that through its struggle with the nefesh bahamis. And that he's saying is truma. Truma lahavaya, havaya meaning blikvul. Before Omnam b'chdei sheti ha'avodah b'nefesh bahamis. In order we should be matzliach in this avodah, yetserich b'nesinas koyach melamayla. And that's another explanation. Yitnu. First, you type Zeh goes to Nefesh Bahamis. Now it's a second layer. Zeh Yitnu is an empowerment from above. He said, "This is my God, and I will exalt him. Show you Gilui Atzmas Erin Saflamata." So we are empowered and given the care by the Eibishter to be able to deal with our Nefesh Bahamis. Now, what's the connection to Kriyas Yamsuf? It also says the word Zeh. You see a strong connection. Machzah Shekel Shaykh Kriyas Yamsuf. Machzah Shekel has a connection to Kriyas Yamsuf. This is Bereshami. The Gemara says, Allah Pasuk Allah Kudim, all who pass through to be counted should give a half a shekel. Called Ovar B'Yom, all who pass through the sea. Same lashon. So passing through the sea, which is in the discuss here, the Nesinas Koyach, the Gili of Zekeli Van Veyu. So that is the Nesinas Koyach for the Avodah Machzah Shekel. Heinish, clear? Yeah. Shagili B'chinas Zeh Noisen Koyach al Avodah the Machzah Shekel. Chlolus and in general, in Avodah the Kabbalah Seil, what was Kriyas Yamsuf? Kabbalah Seil. Naksha went into the Yam. Shamali Mitam V'das. The Nikra Machzah Shekel is called Machzis. If you shall avoid the Kabbalah's oil, I'm not sure of this explanation. It's called half, because it's not been medida v'akbala. No footnote. Maybe elsewhere this is explained. Whole implies medida v'akbala. Half somehow does not. But
because whole includes even medida v'akbala.
So half, I think, would be even less than that. Why is half not?
Half even half, which is even lower than a whole, is also included in etzem. The shlemus of the atzmus, shlemus of where it comes from.
I just don't see it. How is half an avodah of Kabbalah's oil and not medida v'akbala? How is it conveyed in the word half? Oh, because he hasn't defined what the Machzah Shekel is. Maybe, okay. Maybe what you're all saying is correct. I don't know. All right, shkoya. Let's conclude by Deze in the Machzah Shekel Truma Lavaya. And then we achieve the Truma being elevated, Shenasa Haromba Va'aliyah Gamba Nefesh Alikis, which is Chelek Havaya, Omra Nafshi, comes Shem Havaya. So Truma Lavaya, the Nefesh Alikis has its Aliyah. Okay, tomorrow, Beis Hashem, we'll give an overview of the Maimer. And then I guess the next day we'll start the Purim Maimer.